Montreal Sixties Scoop survivor wonders how government money will be distributed. With the government set to announce a compensation package for 60s Scoop survivors, some are wondering exactly how the money will be doled out. During what's known as the 60s Scoop, which went on from 1965 until 1984, Indigenous children were taken from their parents and put up for adoption or placed in foster homes. Sources told CBC News that Crown-Indigenous Affairs Minister Carolyn Bennett will announce $800 million for the survivors, between $25,000 to $50,000 each. Roughly $100 million is expected to be dedicated to other reconciliation initiatives. The announcement will be made around 9:30 a.m. on Parliament Hill. Sources told CBC News that Crown-Indigenous Affairs Minister Carolyn Bennett will announce $800 million for the survivors, between $25,000 to $50,000 each. Roughly $100 million is expected to be dedicated to other reconciliation initiatives. The announcement will be made around 9:30 a.m. on Parliament Hill. If you were beaten every day, do you get more money than those who had a really good family experience? It's a pretty touchy subject, she said. Survivors lost their culture, their community, everything that makes them Indigenous, she said, and she now feels like she and others like her will have to prove how much they suffered before they are compensated. She said someone's current success doesn't mean they didn't suffer. Legacy of 60s Scoop lives on, survivor says. Nakasset, who is the executive director of the Native Women's Shelter of Montreal, also pointed out a number of children were adopted by couples in the US and other countries, or no longer have their papers, which may complicate the process. The compensation, she said, is an acknowledgement that the government failed in its attempts to assimilate Indigenous children. But it's also a step toward reconciliation, and she wants to see money put toward programming for different Indigenous organizations. But she also believes the government needs to acknowledge that the 60s Scoop didn't end with her generation. She said it began an epidemic of overrepresentation of Indigenous children in the child welfare system, and perpetuated the idea that Indigenous people can't take care of their children, which is still used as a way for social services to take kids from their parents. Nakasset said she channeled her grief about what happened to her into success. She worked to make the shelter a hub in the community because she felt that since the government isn't doing enough, she would spearhead change. Now the government is trying to step up, they better address these systemic issues. It's not just a personal thing. It's across the board.